find Paul, Kathy? Kathy, you're the one that set this up. How did this come about?
Well, I had 3 or 4 different people email me the his website. I think it only went live maybe Monday, and by Tuesday I had like 3 or 4 people emailing it to me. And one of the people that emailed it to me was our friend from the dim and murky past, who was working with Andy Stevenson on the ballot. Her name is Andrea, and back when Andy Stevenson was doing all that work, oh Lord, 2000.
The black box stuff.
Black box voting, exactly.
Right.
And looking into that software, and then he unfortunately died of pancreatic cancer. That's sort of a long tale in and of itself, but she took care of him and helped him.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's been very active politically, especially where it involves, these sort of investigative cover-ups.
Mm-hmm.
So she emailed it to me as well, and she was the one actually who knew Paul and said she would make an introduction. So that's how that happened.
Well, Paul is fascinating to listen to.
Yeah, and
and I love to listen to somebody who talks in paragraphs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Really.
Well, and he sent me about 10 different emails. I think he was wanting to be very cautious about how he came across, because he said, I'd like to go in depth as much as I can, and how would you think if I presented it this way versus that way, because it was very
political.
It was very yes, and it's a convoluted story, and I hope you also know that Richard Clark,
National Security Advisor,
counterterrorism czar under Clinton and Bush, and including on 9/11, used his book as one of his class textbooks when he taught a class on terrorism at Harvard. So, I mean, the guy does, and Cy Hirsch wrote a positive blurb for his book. So I know. I just want to reiterate that just by way of explaining that this guy is not just some tinfoil hat wearing,
Oh no, and there's no,
because it's so easy to discredit anyone who comes up, or the temptation is to discredit anyone who comes up with these.
Right, and there's no
topics.
indication whatsoever in the over an hour that we had our conversation. No indication to me, and I certainly was watching in the chat room occasionally, whether the people that follow this in real time. There was absolutely no indication whatsoever of any kind of an agenda, except to get this stuff out because it is the truth. And, you and I have talked before about the horror of living under a Trump presidency. Well, there's also the horror of living under a Clinton presidency, especially with some of this stuff now that is starting to drip, just like back at Watergate.
Right. Well, there's no transparency with the Clintons.
Oh, no.
And, I mean, I do believe, honestly, I know this sounds ridiculous because Trump won't release his tax returns, but I think he pretty much throws it all out there. I don't think you have a lot of hidden agenda with Trump. I think he comes right out and says, forget the Muslims and we'll build the wall. And I mean, he just shoots from the cuff and says whatever. I mean, I don't think he's really.
Well, he's a total asshole too.
Well, of course he's a jerk, but I mean, you don't get the feeling like, oh wow, he's got this convoluted hidden agenda. I do believe that is definitely the case, especially the tie-in for me with the Global Initiative, the Clinton Foundation and the Global Initiative. I mean, that's just slimy.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the donations and the arms.
Well, like
trading.
Paul pointed out, though, the Clinton Foundation has done some really good things in their charitable work.
Yeah, so did Al Capone.
Especially where it concerns children's rights and women's rights around the globe, that we can't take that away from the Clinton Foundation. They have done, but as Paul pointed out, one could safely say that the primary objective of the Clinton Foundation is to provide the slush fund of enormous amounts of money that can be used to stimulate people. Kind of like the astroturf that the right wing does, stimulate people to form, what do you call them, lobbying efforts to work on the issues that Hillary Clinton, wants then to talk about in her campaign. after that effort has been made. So that's where the money goes. And that is kind of cheesy on its surface, and might be just the typical shitty stuff that goes on with politics in this country.
Right, and you could make the big argument about how dirty politics are regardless of who's dealing the cards.
Right.
But it's just we don't have good choices other than Bernie this election season. I mean, and to me, again, I can't. It's just astonishing to me. The man keeps winning elections. He's the cleanest candidate we've had in half a century.
Oh,
I
probably
don't
more
know,
than that.
Since I was thinking Kennedy. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying.
No,
to
not
think
Kennedy.
no.
No.
I was going to say, but that's not right. Maybe Bobby. But I mean, I can't think.
Not there either.
I can't
Sorry.
think of someone who is more ethically pure and has the record to back it up. There is nothing you could dig up on Bernie Sanders that you'd say, oh well, look, he's a hypocrite. Look at this and look at this. It doesn't exist. He's like Dennis Kucinich in that regard. There's no agenda. I mean, he's truly a populist. He's a Studs Terkel.
Well, there's no hidden agenda.
There's no hidden agenda.
Because Bernie Sanders has an enormous
of course,
agenda.
But he has
right.
no personal agenda.
Oh no, that too.
That's what I mean.
But it's out there.
It's exactly. I mean, there's he's not seeking grandeur or money or
self-aggrandizement,
favor or some legacy or it's just I want to do this because this is the right thing and this is how I was raised to be an American. And I just it's astonishing to me. We have this candidate and someone
why isn't he winning?
Why isn't he winning everything? Everywhere.
Every single primary. Right.
And I mean, to just put Bernie up against Trump, it would be such a stark.
Do you know what? Well, I thought
you got this and you got this.
I've thought about that too, and you and I have talked about it. Why Sanders hasn't just walked away with the nomination by this point, and I think it's because of this incredible cynicism that has been fostered by both political parties, but primarily by the Republicans in our political culture. This horrible cynicism, I feel it, you feel it, you know the conversations we've had. We are all aware, those of us who can still think, that the entire system is so corrupt, it is so muddied up with liars, cheats, scum like Mitch McConnell, money and more money. Corporations are people, my friend. I mean, all this crap that has factored into it over the past 30 or 40 years. So someone who has been aware of how things have worked out can't be anything but cynical. And people who don't have a real clear memory of Reagan or a real clear memory of Nixon, just what they've read, the cynicism develops anyway, because everybody knows government does not respond to the needs of the people. Take a look at what's going on in this country right now. I mean, the whole infrastructure is crumbling into dirt and dust and sinkholes, and nothing's being done. The Zika virus. Congress, Obama asked for $1.2 billion to fight the Zika virus, and the Republicans will not give a goddamn dime.
I know.
Nothing.
I know.
I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
Oh well, I've got through the night without screaming and cussing. So.
Well, and you'll have to make it last for the weekend because we have one more Molly engagement.
That's right.
Tomorrow
is a rebroadcast that goes all the way about 10 years ago, isn't it?
Yeah, I love.
It's a real good one. I listened to some of it today.
I love digging through the White Rose Society deep archives. Thank you so much, Ben Birch. And anybody can do what I'm doing and listen to old Malloy shows, but I go in and I tweak them and clean up the audio and edit out all the commercials and the breaks. And so what you have is 3 hours condensed to 2 hours. And this is one in the days after the Katrina disaster.
Well, you've got a Pickles Bush parody in there that is just, I just about fell off the chair when I heard it the second time. I haven't heard it in 10 years, but Jesus God.
That was a good, this was chock-a-block. There were a lot of good sound bites in there. I think I had a montage piece of some of the things that the Bush crime family was spouting, and there's a call in there from Marge, and some pretty good stuff. So if you have nothing better to do tomorrow night and you'd like to relive a real horror story, a real American horror story, Katrina.
Save this one for sure, because this tonight's program with Paul.
Sure.
We're going to have to put it out there again fairly soon.
Yeah.
And maybe wait until the results from this FBI investigation. I think it would be even more timely at that point. But anyway, thank you for setting this up for us, Kathy. It was and all your contacts who came together on this.
Oh, thank Andrea.
Yeah, well, thank you, Andrea. Okay. Yeah, we will be. We have a Molly event Friday night, and we'll be back live on Monday. I believe it or not, sometimes I get speechless. I can't think of the right cuss words to use, or I can't think of the right snotty remark to use, or the right comment of shock and awe. I was going to talk about this pig Zimmerman tonight and a few other things, but I think what we presented tonight was a good thing.